So we could put our cameras on, right?
It's up to you if you want to put your cameras on. All right, so you've been recorded now. So you can begin.
Great. So good morning to our distinguished lecturer, Mr. Bisu, and to our fellow course participants. This morning, we are going to, in our leadership and ethics course, we are here to introduce our dynamic team, which it is on our topic, leadership and ethics. We as a team believe that understanding oneself is the cornerstone of effective leadership, and it's a privilege to share our perspective on this vital topic with you all this morning. We have been committed throughout this class to guiding you through a thought-provoking and introspective exploration of leadership and ethics, which we think is a crucial aspect of understanding ourselves. So our goal this morning is not only to share our insights, but also to engage in meaningful discussion with each of you. And thus, we hope to foster an environment of mutual learning and growth. So as we go through this presentation now, we'll delve into the importance of self-awareness, recognizing our strengths and weaknesses, nurturing self-esteem, and cultivating confidence, which we all think is essential elements to ethical leadership. We would be using all of our information from the leadership, Exploring Leadership for College Students Who Want to Make a Difference, second edition. You all will be quite familiar with this book because it's the one that we got in class, right? Our topic, our chapter this morning is chapter 4, which is Understanding Yourself. Let me introduce you to our dynamic team now. First of all, we have Rona Thomas. We have Lyndon Sterling. And we have Brunian Waldron. Welcome to my team. Right. Sterling, you know it's a journey, this leadership. So Sterling, would you please start us off on this journey?
Good morning, everyone. I will ask persons who are not doing the presentation to mute their mics, please. Mr. Peter Edwards,
yes,
we are getting some feedback.
So, Eddie?
Yes.
So can you mute Peter Edwards, please?
Yeah, we're going to try to get that.
Also, good morning, class. Good morning, everyone, especially to our lecturer, Mr. Bisu. As we look at this slide ahead of us, or the slide on our screen, I want to ask you all, well, let me start with my group members. When last have you taken a journey in which you discovered something new? So let me ask you first, when last you took a journey in which you discovered something new?
Just recently, I was abroad, and what I would consider discovering something new is to know a disclaimer in one of those parks. Don't go on the ride, right? But they say anybody who have headache or suffering from pressure or something, even though you ain't suffering from it, don't go on it. Once you say a disclaimer, discovering something new for me.
And Rona, when last you took a journey or a trip or discovered something?
Yeah, my journey actually is this course at Costa. You know, I started it off. It was quite challenging, but along the way, I'm learning so many new things. It's really fulfilling.
Interesting. I hope you're not trying to pad the lecturer by saying that, but I guess we are all on that journey. I myself, and why I ask this question is because we are on a journey, and this chapter especially takes us on a journey, as you would very soon see, as per discovery of self, self-knowledge, self-concept, and many other things that help persons have a particular perspective or healthy view of themselves. As you see this lady standing in this open field, well, she's not standing. As you can see, the photo is moving or the video is moving. She, like me, one time that I took my wife for a drive to the Caucasus Peninsula, I never saw that beautiful flora and fauna and wildlife with my own eyes until that day. And that was a discovery for me. That was an interesting journey. We are not only required to take those type of journeys, but for developing ourselves to become the person we must become, we must take a journey of exploration of leadership, exploration of ourselves, as the text is entitled. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought to yourself, I have a solution to this problem, but I don't want to say it out loud in front of all these people? What if it sounds stupid? Anybody in this class has ever heard a question asked? You say, I have a question, I have an answer, but I don't want to sound stupid. Is there anyone like that in the class today?
Oh yes, Sterling, that's me. I always think, oh my gosh, especially in maths where I don't know anything. Yeah, that happens a lot.
Or in the next situation, you say, here am I again rushing to finish my paper the night before it's due. Why do I always procrastinate when I have known this was due for months? I know this is true for many of us. Or why in the world do I always pick away at all the details of an idea and end up sounding so negative? Or in the next situation, I am so proud that I didn't hesitate a minute to disagree when that person made such a hurtful comment. Or you may be saying in the next situation, my sense of humor really helped the group to get through the tense moment tonight and keep things in perspective. Class, the truth is, when we examine things like these, or when we look at things like these, or reflect on these experiences, we, like this man looking through this window, we reflect and we see our own strengths and weaknesses and those of others. Seeing our own strengths and weaknesses and those of others in this way clearly requires focused reflection. Now, this man seems to be looking through a window, but to me, I think he's really reflecting. It looks like a reflective moment. Being aware of how you prefer to think. That's what was going on in that previous conversation where you were probably saying to yourself, why did I do this? Why do I do this? Being aware of that, how you prefer to think, to relate, to learn, and to find personal meaning is an important self-awareness skill. Being able to articulate what you believe and what you value helps you understand your own motivations and behaviors. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses helps you grow and relate to others with authenticity and credibility. Importantly, with authenticity and credibility. If we are to relate to others in a true way, it must be authentic, it must be true, it must be credible, it must be believable. Because leadership happens in the context of interpersonal relationships. Now, this is important, class. Leadership happens in the context of interpersonal relationships. We don't lead a house, we don't lead a car. We own a house, we drive a car, but we lead persons, and that leadership is established on interpersonal relationships. And since leadership is poised on that, self-understanding is essential to authenticity and in those relationships. The most basic life trait that translates to leadership effectiveness is honest, authentic self-awareness that is open to growth and change. Now, I propose to you, as this chapter does, and we propose to you, that you must go upon a journey. You must go upon this journey. I recommend, I encourage this class to engage in this journey so that you can discover who you really are, to move towards an effective leadership that is honest, authentic, self-aware. This journey will help us become self-aware. This journey will help us become open to growth and learning and change. The chapter overview says that we challenge you to think of the things that about yourself that shape your personal identity and fuel your motivations. The chapter explores the role of self-awareness in leadership, including aspects of self-concept and self-esteem. It also explores how to form your values and the role of values in developing character. Your personality preferences for how you approach decisions and how you learn are also addressed. Along with studying leadership, you must understand yourself. Now, this is like what this chapter is really speaking about. not like, it is what the chapter is really speaking about. You must, that is not a recommendation. That seems to be prerequisite. You must understand yourself. So developing self for leadership, the first point of this chapter. And may I just ask the class, how many persons have been on that journey of self-development in light of being a leader? You know, many people are on self-development for the purpose of, I want to make a little more money. Self-development for, I want to get through in this particular area. But how many people have pursued self-development in pursuit of being a leader? Anybody? Feel free to answer, to raise.
Well, Sterling, this course alone, I think it's self-development in terms of all of the new things we're learning, management, leadership, ethics, law. That alone in itself, I think, is a great self-development course. And it is going to get us all for leadership in the future, in our leadership roles now and in the future.
Thank you very much, Rona Thomas. Now, I want to speak about a movie because not that this class is about movies or cinematography or anything like that, but we can learn things from movies. Anyone has ever seen the franchise or any of the franchise movies or the series or the trilogy, Star Wars? It's one of my favorite series, guys. It's one of my favorite series.
Yeah. I actually completed watching.
Who is that? Who is that person?
Hanson.
Hanson. So you look at all 6?
Yep.
Did you look at also Clone Wars? Did you look at Star Wars Rebels? Did you look at Star Wars New Republic as well?
All of them.
I want to know if there's a next fan in the class. And please bear with me, Mr. Biswa and Mr. Clark, because I'm a fan of Star Wars. So you also looked at Ahsoka, you looked at Mandalorian, you look at all of them?
All of them.
Well, I stop asking questions. Well,
I binge watch.
Go ahead, Hanson.
No, I said I binge watched.
All right, nice. Well, I have someone who I share a common value with, as you all will understand what value means later on, right? We have a value for Star Wars. The Star Wars movies were filled with deeper meaning behind the adventurous entertainment, and that's why I love the series. In fact, the term Vader, many people know when they speak about the most famous antagonist, or one of the most famous antagonists in movie history is this guy called Darth Vader. Actually, I'm just verifying or showing you how this Star Wars has deeper meaning. The word Vader is actually a play on the German word Vater, which is father. The fact is that Darth Vader is really Luke Skywalker's father. And in Dutch as well, Vader means father. So I think George Lucas, the owner of the franchise or the creator, was really into, as the book said, it has a deeper meaning behind the adventurous entertainment. In Luke Skywalker's journey with Yoda in The Return of the Jedi, Luke's journey teaches us about self-development. How can a little nonsensical picture with a little green man, who in those days the CGI wasn't that good, how can that teach us about self-development? Well, Yoda was setting Luke onto the Jedi path for self-development and leadership. While Luke approached Yoda to learn from him because he had all these secrets as a Jedi master, Yoda emphasized to Luke, as this chapter emphasizes to us, the importance of focusing on one's internal power. The inward journey fosters or develops, the third point, self-awareness. But remember, if we just say the journey develops self-awareness, how does the journey develop self-awareness? By means of identifying abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. Remember, I said before, somebody posted on that Veda in Sanskrit. I didn't get the entire point there, but let me see if I see it here. Veda in Sanskrit means knowledge or wisdom. Thank you for that. So the inward journey fosters self-awareness by identifying abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. Trusting oneself and being congruent is crucial for effectiveness as a leader. Yoda was telling Luke, you need to trust. Yes, and guys, let me just give you a little side on how deeply George Lucas wrote this story. Luke actually means one who bears light, and that the weapon he used was a lightsaber, but you can use it for next time. Trusting oneself and being congruent is crucial for effectiveness. We can't be effective if we don't trust ourselves and are not consistent or harmonious with in harmony with who we are and consistent in our character. But this is crucial for effectiveness. That's what we call the Jedi path to self-development and leadership. Next slide. Now, this point is not only demonstrated via an exegesis of the Star Wars movie. And when I say exegesis, is a word that's used in biblical studies to speak about reading out the meaning of a text, which the chapter sought to do. But that point is also supported by one called Kevin Paniker, who was a participant in the Banner Scholar Community Service Program at the University of Richmond and a member of the South Asian Student Alliance. What did Paniker said? See, Paniker said it is of great importance to recognize one's strengths and weaknesses because only then can one realize one's capability and limitations. Class, take note of this now. If we don't know our strengths and weaknesses, we actually have blurred lines or no awareness of our boundaries, our limitations, or what our abilities are. And let me say to us, and as we will deal with later on in the chapter, acknowledging those strengths and weaknesses is a safe thing. And failing to do that actually is a weakness, but we can get to that later. So it's of great importance to recognize your strengths and weaknesses because only then, on understanding what they are, you can realize your capability and limitations. Because strengths are aligned to capability. Strengths are our capabilities. Weaknesses are our limitations. Recognizing capacity allows leaders to commit themselves in such a way as to utilize their capability. When I know my capacity or what I am able to do, and as we're speaking about the word capacity, but capacity really has to do with the level to which you are developed. But let's just look at a vehicle. If you don't know how much gas you have in your tank, and somebody say, hey, I want to go to the same carcass that Sterling went to some time ago to discover the flora and fauna, you can't guarantee to reach there. But when you know the capacity of what you have in your tank, your capacity, your ability, the engine size, what you're able to do, then I can commit myself to a particular task. If you say, Sterling, you can do this. Rona, you can do this. Then Rona can say, well, I can't make that. Then Bruni can say, hey, I can't make with that because I know my capacity and I could commit to things that I am capable with. Recognizing limitations allows for humility and acknowledgement that leaders cannot succeed at everything. Has anyone here ever come to that realization that your limitation is humble yet? Anybody here? Now, when I say humble you, it's not as in Trinidad where humble means loud up, somebody loud you up, or somebody disrespect you, and they pop you down, and they feeling poor me one. When we say our limitations make us not think that everything centers around us, or we have the most importance, or we can do everything. I see a raised hand. Go ahead, Yvette. Or is the raised hand just saying that you agree?
Yes, I agree. Yes.
All right. So it's important. It's important that we have such experiences. Recognizing the limitations allows for humility and the acknowledgement that leaders cannot succeed at everything. May I add to this, I'm not critiquing the text, but we must understand that, and as was said in the chapter at the next point, that as we understand such, we are able to bring persons alongside us. And Rona will deal with that a bit, to bring persons alongside us who can help us. So we see that there's a Jedi path to leadership, to self-development, where a person must explore to realize who they really are, to find abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. And then we see Paniker speaking about understanding our capability and knowing what we can commit to. I see a hand still raised. I don't know if Hanson's hand is raised as for a response or just to agree with what I said. Joel?
I was just agreeing with what you said before.
All right, thank you, sir. So there are 4 lessons to develop self-knowledge. Now, this guy wrote a book some time ago. This guy, Warren Bennis, wrote a book called On Becoming a Leader, 1989. And he says, 4 lessons to develop self-knowledge. You are your own best teacher. Remember, guys, I want you to keep in your mind that we are on a journey. We are on a journey to developing, to discovering who we are. You are your own best teacher. Right? And no one, Mr. Bisu, I'm sorry, although you are a lecturer, I want to tell you, you are not the best teacher of these persons in this class. You may have the best ability in teaching, but you're not the person best suited to teach everyone. The person who needs to be taught, that very person is the person best suited to teach, to be the best to do that job the best. You are your own best teacher. 2, accept responsibility. Blame no one. Guys, I came to a realization of this some time ago, you know. Sometimes we have experiences and we throw those experiences off and say, that person caused me to do that. It's their fault. I would have, you rather than saying to yourself that, hey, even though I was told about this situation, I made a decision to become involved in it. And by accepting responsibility, you begin to develop, you understand that, hey, things fall along with me. It's based on what I do, whether or not somebody encouraged me or someone enticed me or someone gave me the information. I went ahead with it. Accept responsibility, blame no one. When we reflect on those flaws or those errors that we made, we can better become developed through those experiences. You can learn anything you want to learn. And may I tell you, this is really motivation. If you really want to learn something, please go back to the next slide. If you really want to learn something, you can learn anything you want to learn. And 4thly, true understanding comes from reflection on your experience. Remember at the start of the presentation, we spoke about the need for persons to truly reflect on who they are. Persons as the hypothetical situation where the person was reflecting on the things that they like, the things that they did, the situations that they were involved in. True understanding of ourselves comes from reflection on our experience. Counselors, advisors, friends, or family can help us with this process, but awareness, self-knowledge, ultimately requires you to study yourself. Next slide. Here is another idea that supports the fact that we must go upon the journey for self-discovery. We must invest in that journey. Has and Tamakin, in their book, The Leader Within, say that leadership means self-discovery, getting a better yield out of your attributes. So one person may say leadership involves, but here Has and Tamakin say leadership means self-discovery. And years ago, I read a book called Leadership from the Inside Out by Samuel Rima. And it speaks about self-leadership. And we have internal self-governance. We can make decisions. We know what we are pursuing. We know ourselves. Leadership, according to Has and Tamakin, means self-discovery, getting a better yield out of your attributes. And it seems as if Has and Tamakin associate self-discovery with a person getting a better yield out of their attributes. And those attributes, as we can see, are strengths and weaknesses, our abilities, our capacity, the things that are true about us, we get a better yield out of such. Strengths and weaknesses, according to Clifton and Nelson, in identifying your passions and strengths, Clifton and Nelson suggest that you pay attention to the thing you see others doing until your inner mind saying, oh, I would love to do that. So in identifying your passions and strengths, look at the things. Look at the things that others are doing that you are attracted to and saying, I would love to do that. And sometimes it's hard to identify strengths, but we can listen to the times You say, I feel I've accomplished something great when I do that. Clifton and Nelson recommend that you find your strengths by trying these strategies. And while I read this, I reflected on something I heard a while ago as well, that we can understand our strengths also. I'm not critiquing Clifton and Nelson here, but I'm saying that we can identify our strengths also by the things that people say to us that we are good at. Then we have an objective contribution to things we are good at. When people say, hey, you do this thing good, and when you not have just one, not just one person saying that, but many persons saying that to you, we can identify strengths and weaknesses. Next slide. Remember, we're on the journey. We are on the journey. So we pay attention to the things that we see in others that we like, and we pay attention to the things that we do well as I would add, pay attention to the things that other persons say that we do well. Understanding strengths and weaknesses goes on to say, and remember, guys, we have to keep thinking about this in context of the discussion that you would have had with Luke, that the book drew our attention to. Understanding strengths and weaknesses says, because remember, you would have said that, hey, you have to take this journey to discover your abilities. It's inside of you to know your strengths and weaknesses as a Jedi, to become a Jedi Master. Everyone, point one, has a unique mix of strengths and weaknesses. No one in here has the same mix of strengths and weaknesses. We are all our own unique amalgam of strengths and weaknesses. Overemphasizing strengths can sometimes lead to weaknesses. Have you ever heard the saying when people say that that's your strength or your strength has become a weakness? A weakness can be either an area of non-talent or one of our talents in overdrive. It is being used ineffectively or in an extreme way that is not helpful. An example of that is empathy in overdrive can lead someone to be seen as a pushover. Command in overdrive can lead someone to see you as overly bossy. And next point is that what you consider a weakness on this journey, what you consider a weakness, remember you're discovering, you may say, hey, there's my weakness, but what you consider a weakness may be viewed as a strength by others. And the truth is that in a particular scenario, because you have a particular thing that may be seen as a weakness in one scenario, it may be what is needed in the next scenario, and that may present it as a strength. Leadership self-awareness grows when you identify your strengths and weakness in collaboration. So our awareness of our leadership awareness grows when we are able to see our strengths and weakness as they relate to others, as they work in the system that we are, because we are a system ourselves. That self-awareness is informed. We are better informed of who we are by the collaboration, by our strength as, for instance, a person who is a good speaker, realizing that, hey, I'm not a good writer. A person who is a good group leader, realizing that, hey, I'm not the best person to do a PowerPoint. They work in collaboration, and that gives us greater self-awareness. I now want to continue this conversation, but I want to hand over to my team member, Rona Thomas, to continue this interesting conversation as we go along this journey a little further. So she will take charge from here.
Still, and I really like to say that, passion, we're going to speak about identifying our passions and strengths, but I want to say that your passion is profound. Your passion for your presentation, I really, really felt it. It was deep. And they say passion is a positive feeling for something that is deeply and personally meaningful. So it seems that finding yourself is really meaningful to you. What do you say?
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that compliment. I may seem to be quite passionate. I am passionate about the presentation. Thank you.
But as Clifton and Nelson said, they suggested that you pay attention to the things that you see others doing in your inner mind, saying, "Oh, I would love to try that." But sometimes it's hard to identify your strengths and listen for the time you say, "I feel I've accomplished something great." But in you speaking about strengths and passions, what I want to say is that there's a story in the book, in the leadership book, and it spoke about Let the Rabbit Run. And the story goes like this. it's Soar with Strengths. It's a book that was written by Clifton and Nelson. And the story goes where it tells a story about a rabbit that went to school. Now, he went to school to become well-rounded. I mean, that's what we go to school to do. But the rabbit excelled actually in the classes of hopping and running. But he didn't do so well in the swimming and flying classes. And he just couldn't get off the ground. But he didn't know why. His parents actually encouraged him, go at it, be a well-rounded student. But he couldn't figure out why it is I'm not doing swimming and not doing flying as well as hopping and running. You know, and there's a story there that, as I said, Clifton and think that we should look at the things, identify our strengths, and sometimes listen to our strengths and what it is the strengths can tell us to do. Yeah. So I want to speak a little bit about passion because you see, passion inspires all of us to identify our vision. And you know, we can't have great leaders without having great vision. Anybody here can think about Bruni, a leader that had great vision and inspired people? I can think about Obama,
Oh,
and he had a great tagline.
yeah.
Yeah, Bruni?
Yeah, I would think about Mahatma Gandhi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
he was a
what it
very
is,
spirit. Yep.
yeah,
I think Mandela is one.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the thing is, what it is these great leaders did was they turned their passion and they elevated themselves and they were great leaders. Yeah. So some of the things that we can do as leaders, and when it is we are passionate about it, is we can listen to ourselves when we have done something well, even if no one else noticed. You know, sometimes you do something, you may in my job, I think I write great reports. You know, I may not be recognized all the time, but I write great file reports, you know? And that is something I tell myself, okay, it's good. No, I mean, it's part of my job. Nobody might recognize, oh, you're writing great file reports, but it's something it's a passion, me writing, you know, and it's something I tell myself, nobody notices, but I notice. Another thing is we can identify our satisfaction when you feel that you know something you did was terrific and it gives you a great feeling of well-being and self-worth. Yeah. Moving on, we can know things that you find easy to learn quickly. Like we can talk. Some people make friends quite easily. I don't actually. I'm a hobbit on a hill, you know. But in this group, I am in a group with two other people. Bruni makes friends like that, you know. What about mastering computer technology? That is something I think I'm good at. Or reading patiently to a small child. I don't like reading to other people, but I have children and I have to do it. So, you know, those are some passions that we have, and we can turn and achieve focus on making a difference. Another thing is we can study our successes for clues of excellence, meaning that when we glimpse what it is we think we do excellent, we can, like, say, whether we give a speech or helping someone, we can feel special about it. We can examine these successes, and this, and by examining our successes, then we figure out what it is we do well. Yeah. Then we can think about our patterns of excellence. When it is you're about to sing every word of a song you like, when you're able to grasp the deeper meaning in a complicated class lecture, like this class. I mean, going through the exploring the leadership book, you know, when we saw the 25 and 30 pages, it was like, what? But going through it, you realize everything has meaning and it can speak to us because it's all about ourselves. Yeah? Cooking, playing basketball, public speaking. Each of these things is things that we can do to improve our time, improve ourselves. And we might find out when we practice these skills, we'll really be good at it. So some clues or strengths are all around us. We can identify and label them. We can affirm our confidence and self-esteem by acknowledging what it is we do. We can bring reliable talents to situations, and we can contribute to leadership of a cause. So, Bruni, tell me something. What are some of your passions that you maybe have been able to use as a strength?
One of the things that I with a passion that I had, as I used as a strength, was my ability to communicate easily, right? And is I say it as a passion because it wasn't always like that. I became a communicator later on in life, and that was something that I developed, and I use it as a strength now.
Yeah. What about you,
Or was
Sterling?
considered to be a strength.
Yeah, I think I know you're Trinidad and so you say you like to talk, but I think one of my passions was just connecting with people, communicating, having those conversations, and that has moved from just that to being able to connect with people cross-culturally in actual live sessions for their development. So just meeting someone from a different culture, connecting with them, I think that is something that it has grown to really become not just a strength, but a key part of my life, because even during COVID, I worked with groups where people speak a different language or work with people from different cultures in particular areas of their development. And that's really a strong passion for me. Another one is biblical studies. I grew up in a Christian home, but then I became passionate for biblical studies, and that has carried me all over the place, as far as the United Kingdom to teach or to preach, especially where youth development was concerned. So there's passions I developed to strengths or very particular areas of my life.
Great. So we use our passions as strengths. Another thing that we can use is our talents. We can embrace our talents and use them as strengths. And some of the things that leaders should have as some talents that we should have, or at least it is we can recognize and have, is relationship building, as Brittany said, and still in, adaptability. Still in said that, you travel abroad and you had other languages, you had to adapt to that. Innovation, in terms that you have to be innovative, because the young people today, trust me, they get bored quite easy.
Yes, I think that the innovation is a very important one. All are important, but because we're living in a dynamic environment, so persons have to continually know how to reinvent this, how to make this. And right now, for instance, we're doing a PowerPoint, and we don't want you guys to fall asleep on us, so we're trying to innovate. So that's how we are trying to show you all that innovation is important. Just point a note.
Yeah. So we may not think that our talents can be put to use, but we may have very effective talents. And from young, I remember I loved reading. I loved reading, and I loved I was really bossy with my brothers. I was the only girl, and now it helps me because the reading has taken me far in terms of I like studying, I like writing reports, and in terms of being a leader, I'm now a boss, so I could actually put that bossiness into use. But everyone actually possesses unique talents, which are natural strengths. Yeah, and I know many people here would have talents, and we shouldn't focus excessively on our weaknesses, because that could actually hinder the talent we have to become effective leaders. And as effective leaders, we should actually take all these talents and focus into strengths. Yeah.
Rona,
Because
I think that the focusing on our weaknesses are a real great pitfall. Sometimes because of the kind of society that we are in, people love to focus on our weaknesses, but we have to be resilient enough to realize, hey, I have these weaknesses. I'm just saying that in some cultures, people love to focus on weaknesses to make other persons feel bad, as we will see in one of the theories that we will discover later on. But it's important for us, as you said, in this journey, to see our strengths as our ticket out, or our X factor to get out or to advance in a situation. So yeah, that's a real powerful point.
yeah. So you see our talents, as I said, it's so small. And we have power. We have a lot of power and the talents, because from young we have it, and it's enduring. And as this slide says, talents enduring and unique patterns of thought, feelings, or behavior. So some people think of just really talented and maybe in musical or whatever, but we have talents in other areas. Yeah. Film was another area that you could say we have talent in.
Individually, me, or we're speaking of yeah, Jenna. So yes,
Generally.
yeah. So well, generally, people tend to just look at talents that are associated with their creativity now, but they are not the only talents. People have other talents beyond creativity. Many times it's just always a creative talent, but somebody may have an ability to do something quite unique in a situation. But I like the point of enduring and unique patterns. It means that it's something that is going to last. It's not just a talent that, so for instance, Rona or you, Bruni, is not just a talent, or anyone else in this class is not just a talent that you had. It's something that's enduring. So you had it from small and you still have it. And it's an enduring pattern of and unique. So it's something that also is unique to you. Someone else may have it, but they may not necessarily have the same level or same type or the same area. And that was mind-blowing, that it's enduring, because sometimes we kind of think of talents as temporary or temporal. Yes, they are temporal, but more temporary, like I had this for a while, so yeah, that's my thought on that first point.
Yeah.
And I want to add
So
to
we
that
actually
as well, because
go
just a
ahead,
moment.
Renee.
Yes, I just want to add to that as it relates to talents, because simple problem solving, persons could so we have persons who excel in formulating things, finding a formula, or prioritizing, or finding solutions to things, right? So that is also a talent that persons has, that they can capitalize on and we can look at. We have also a communication that I would have said I'm a good communicator, and a talent that I would have used as a prosecutor in the court, right? And so those are the talents that we can look at as well.
Right, great. And the thing is, we have the Gallup organization research, which identifies 34 teams of human talent. Yeah. So leading from a philosophy of talents and strengths, which is aligned with positive psychology. Anybody in the class knows what is positive psychology? Anyone? Well, we have positive psychology, and in order to help you understand it, I'll give you an example, right? So we have Don's theory of the dip and the bucket. Now, everyone, Don's theory and the dip and the bucket stated that everyone has something like an invisible bucket, and they can get it filled or empty on a regular basis by an invisible dipper. Now, when your bucket gets empty, you feel negative and let down. So in terms of that, you may be a leader and you have a subordinate, and they may be doing something, and one time they do something wrong, you criticize them or chastise them. That will be an example of emptying their bucket. Yeah. But when the bucket is full, you feel positive. So the dipper is a powerful tool in leadership, and it allows us to fill other people's bucket by saying positive things and focusing on what the person is good at. So as leaders, we should, in the workplace and otherwise, always try and fill someone's bucket. Tell them positive things, what it is they do right, even though they're the worst person you have underneath you. Also, you must actually try all the time and commend people. Yeah. So, Elena, Bruni, you all have any examples of negative? Anybody ever empty your bucket?
Yeah, I was once doing a well, I don't want to say where it was, but I was one doing an exercise, and there was a little something that I wasn't sure on, so I made the wrong decision, and the person in charge of me came down on me, boy. I felt like the worst. I felt like the biggest dunce, boy. And yeah, that was painful. I fight up with that boy. I fought up with it. So I think that this theory is so powerful. And it shows us so much how dangerous our words or attitudes are to each other as leaders, as persons on that journey of developing ourselves and others, that we can really hurt people. Yeah.
Right. So what about filling the bucket, Bruni? Anybody ever fill up your bucket?
Well, I know I fill a lot of buckets, right? As it relates to persons who I supervise, I would have mentioned in another class where I have two different persons that I with different personalities that I have to adapt, to deal with them on a daily basis. And the one with the more challenging personality, I on a daily basis has to fill her bucket. I compliment her daily. I would even when she doesn't do the things that that is palatable, and I would use the word palatable because of the character. And I always try to motivate and encourage and give her kind and positive words, and to make her feel empowered. So that was my way of pulling bucket according to Dipper theory. Done Dipper.
Right, great. Right. So
Rona,
I
you
hope
know
the
what's
class is-
really, oh, sorry,
No,
you know
go
what's
ahead, go
really
ahead.
interesting to me or really powerful, that the part that says, oh, you can also use the dipper to dip from someone's bucket, making the person feel diminished.
Yeah.
Your own sense of esteem is enhanced when you use the dipper to fill someone's bucket, and when you fill your own bucket and others. That is real powerful. So it can be used for your benefit, even doing something good for another person. I remember when and I ain't shining up Rona here, guys, but class, I hope you're all still there. I don't know which one of you guys remember when we did that first PowerPoint presentation using the Canva slides. And when I saw Rona do the PowerPoint, I was like, Rona is a beast. You're real good at this thing, and so that is like, and it didn't take anything. I mean, you felt good doing it. You're giving praise to that person who is deserving of praise, So I know some people in the comments are making jokes about something weird, filling and emptying people's bucket, but it's
Positive
really a good technique
psychology.
to be used.
Yeah, positive psychology, people. Remember, use it. Use it along in your job, at home, with your children, with your family, everything. It's positive psychology. Fill someone's bucket and don't empty it. So we move on actually to managing our weaknesses for personal growth. Now we realize everything here is positive, right? So we're using our talents as strengths, we're using our strengths, we're using our passion as strengths, and now we are using our weaknesses as a strength. So people might think, how it is we do that? But our weaknesses can actually be managed to prevent them from suppression or strengths. So, some people might think, oh, on a scale, our weakness is so it weighs us down every day. It's a chip on our shoulder. But the goal here is to free strength, right? Take it away. To become so powerful that the weaknesses cannot become irrelevant. And we have so many examples of this. We have Tom Cruise, Orlando Bloom, Keanu Reeves, Whoopi Goldberg, Leonardo da Vinci, Pablo Picasso, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and John Lennon. Now, people in the class may be going like, all of those people from the past and present, what it is they have, what weaknesses they have. They all excel. They all great leaders. They all did something really good. But as the book tells us, each of them had coped with dyslexia. Yeah, and that's really something. They had to struggle to become quick readers, accurate spellers. But you know what? They all learned to manage these weaknesses, and they found ways to prevent them from blocking their strengths. So Tom Cruise actually once said that he had to train himself to focus his attention. And he said he became a very visual first learner, and he learned how to create mental images in order to comprehend what he read. And we know Tom Cruise, one of the biggest actors in Hollywood. So people, don't get despondent. Take your weaknesses and take your weaknesses and you use this as a strength. We can focus the strengths, address problematic weaknesses directly, and we can assess our strengths and weaknesses, because by doing this is crucial for self-awareness. Bruni,
So
Yes,
any thoughts on
because
this?
I like that example as it relates to Tom Cruise, because my daughter is dyslexic, and I'm only person she was there probably in about Form 1, Form 2 when we actually realized that she was struggling with reading, right? Let me put it this way: well, really, really struggling with reading, right? And she would pretend, or she would have her own in her own quiet times, from what I know now, looking back in respect, she would say that you know I used to look at my brother and other persons reading fluently, and I am wondering how they did that and how I couldn't do it as fluent. I'd be picking and trying to pronounce words and still not getting it right, right? And I just capitalize on her weakness, and I just said, "Listen, this is something that she has. Let me look for her strength, capitalize on her strength, correction." And I start working with her, and she was there and she was willing, and she focus on her strengths, and she's now in medical school, and I'm proud to say that. And know from dyslexia to becoming a doctor. That is a success
Wow.
story.
So many success stories. Yeah.
I also have a success story. It's the fact that, and I'll say it here, and maybe you all may be a little bit shocked, but I had what you call a tight tongue or lisp. So I was teased about it. What's that?
We would never
Yeah,
know.
so I was teased about that so much that I sat in front of that mirror as a little child. And I'm not saying that this per se is a weakness, but just to show how we can overcome things, I sat in front of that mirror and I practiced articulating, holding my tongue back when I articulated. And now even to speak a language that involves so much songs like that, so I think that it's quite an interesting story, quite an interesting thing that we can manage those weaknesses,
I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll move on now to our esteem, confidence, and self-acceptance. Now, us, many people have low self-esteem, low confidence, and they don't accept who they are, but they never bring it out in the open. Yeah. But as leaders, we see we really need self-confidence, because in order for leaders to accomplish their goals and take risks, self-confidence is key, because we have to deal with problems, we have to deal with other subordinates, we have to deal with higher ups, and these are things that we really, really need to have self-esteem, confidence, and self-acceptance. One of the things that happened to me is when I was 20, I just come in the job, I came in at 18, and then they sent me on the PTI course, physical training instructor, and I was really, really small. Well, I'm still small, but smaller. And as soon as I came out, they sent me into training. Now, training have recruits. Sterling was one of the recruits, Sterling and new. And the recruits are all bigger than me. And I had to stand up in front of the parade square, 100 and some recruits. And I had to shout and tell them this. And, it was really, really scary for me at the time, but it really helped build my self-confidence and acceptance. And it helped me along my journey, because, now I'm an officer, I'm a senior officer in the fire service, and I have to deal with many, many people across the board, the public, classmates, everybody. So that is something that we as leaders, we should try to build our self-esteem, our confidence, and self-acceptance. Yeah, but in doing that, we need to acknowledge the aspects of ourselves, see what can be changed, what cannot be changed, reframe our perceptions of ourselves, and develop our ability, to rely on the strengths and competencies. And by doing this, we will really build it. Yeah? Any thoughts on this, people? I want to move on because I know Bruni has to come on. So I'll go on to nature versus nurture. Now, this is something we learned in psychology, right? Remember, Puran taught us this. And as you can see here, family, because human behavior is actually influenced by both our nurture, which is in simple terms socialization, and our nature, hereditary. So the awareness of the role of nurture and nature in our development as leaders is crucial for our self-understanding. Why? Because self-awareness allows us to recognize how it is our upbringing, our environment, and our genetics have shaped our perceptions, our values, our temperament, our personality, and our motives. Yeah? And then you can intentionally choose to develop a desired trait or skills, even in some aspects of your nature or upbringing were unchangeable. Yeah? So you can actually, if it is you had let me see, like my mother, when she was a single parent and she never allowed us to go outside. We had to stay inside, me and my brothers. And when she went to work, we would run away. And as a result, she always tell us, friends carry you and they don't bring you back, and don't do whatever. And I grew up with that mentality where it is, as I said earlier, I'm a hobbit on a hill. I like being by myself. I'm an introvert, as we would see later on down with Bruni. And but as a leader, I had to actually change that. that aspect of myself. I had to socialize, you know. So it was difficult for me, but it's one of the I had to actually understand that my nature and my it impacted on my self development. So self awareness is a valuable tool for personal growth and better understanding how others respond, to various phenomena. Any thoughts on that, Bruni or Stellan?
Yeah, well, definitely, because I was socially retarded as well. And that is because of how I was brought up. No, seriously, because I was brought
Yeah.
up in a strict Christian household as well. Was 7 of us, and my father used to say, you don't need friends. You 7 of you, you play together, because he don't want to be influenced by what he considered the neighbors were unholy or ungodly, and they're not going to school and interacting, and he's seeing persons to keep me home, do homeschooling. So it was a bit of a confusion. So he didn't know how to interact, how to deal with people, how to communicate. And yeah, it was difficult, and you have to. I tell you, as later on in life, I learned to develop and become the communicator that I am today, and how to develop that strength. So I understand that quite well.
So
But I
with
was
that,
thinking that
go ahead, Stellan.
that the fact that you can, and this is a very interesting journey. And let me just say to the class members, remember, you can raise your hand as an indication that you want to respond or make a contribution, right? You can intentionally choose to develop desired traits or skills, even in some aspects of your nature, even if some aspects of your nature or upbringing are unchangeable. So to me, it's like we have things that we can't change, but we have things that we can change. It have some things that we can make a choice about, but there are things that we can make desire and make a choice about, and that to me shows that leadership, this journey leads us onto a road of being limitless in our development.
Great.
Yes, and once you are self-aware, once you are self-aware of where you are and who you are and what you want to become, that is when you start to work on it, right? So that self-awareness is a valuable tool indeed.
Right. And speaking about valuable, we now go to values as we move on in this journey. We can't stick right now. You think we're in a patrol? No. So we go on to values and action. And Bruni, you would tell us all about this journey and your values and action.
Yes, values in action, right? So values and beliefs, right? Every person has a different value system, right? And some people may choose logic and science over emotion, and others may only use emotions in situations. And knowing what your own value system is, it helps to understand who you are as an individual, right? So we have 2 positive psychologists. They studied in the field, or the research in the field of positive psychology. You have heard Rona spoke about positive psychology earlier, and this is Christopher Peterson and Martin Seligman. They actually developed the classification called values in action, right? And they believe that you should be focusing on your character, your strengths, and your virtues, right? And your virtues is actually broken down into wisdom and knowledge, humility, justice, transcendence, and courage. And when we talk about wisdom and knowledge, we talk about creativity, curiosity, perspectives, open-mindedness. You talk about courage, you talk about being brave, being persistent, and having integrity. And as I use the word integrity, right, I want to focus on that a little bit. Integrity is being honest and be with strong moral principles, right? And my own is doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, right? So everybody possesses some form of ethical value or some form of ethical moral principle. And especially in the police service, where it's easy for someone to be swayed or go astray. Hey, partner, look, we're going down the road day. Let me give me $5,000. We could get $5,000 easy. Just give a man a ticket and then tell him get the ticket again and take a 500. No, you have to be strong with your ethical values and your principles, and that would be because that is who you are. That you have shaped your character, and you shouldn't be easily swayed or influenced, right? Because what your values, your beliefs influence your behavior. and it impacts on your thoughts and your actions. And once you have those grounded foundational values and what you believe in and those ethical and integrity, you're going to know that you should not be easily swayed, right, by persons who want to carry down the pit, as I should say, right? So individuals may construct their own value system differently, and no single process is preferred over another, right? So understanding your values is crucial for understanding yourself and for understanding and understanding others. And values could lead to differences in perspective, but character and integrity can mitigate disagreements. And this is another thing that could come back because my daddy was a parable. When I say parable, we can use a lot of parables because he would say things like celebrate for peace and you know, when you look for good in people, when you look for bad in people, that's all you would see. And, you know, so forth, certain away wrote. So when you talk about the values that lead to differences in perspective, but character, who you are, and your integrity mitigate disagreements. So growing up, I was so puzzled. I wouldn't lie. I was really, really socially retarded, but I always used to listen to things that Daddy would say. So some arguments I would walk away from and leave and let go because okay, that is say Selma right for peace. How you think of character integrity can mitigate certain disagreements, even you want to really fight down the person, but you move away because of what you believe in and the values that you hold there. Next slide. Right, so we're talking now about shaping your identity. Bear with me, a class, I know they know me a long time and I just talk really, really fast. So I'll try my best to see how best I could talk a bit slower. So factors that shape your identity actually are, everyone comes from a different background, we would have said before, ethnicity, race, gender, sexual orientation, your religious affiliation, your upbringing, your family, and all this affect the way in which we grow up. So these differences help us to develop a global leadership mindset. And this means that you're tolerating and accepting those that may have different practices than you, or being global also means that you can communicate effectively with persons from a different culture, right? So a global mindset is also crucial because the very ability is required to deal with diversity and multiculturalism would also help for you to be effective as a leader, right? So the factors, each and all the elements that play a role and how you perceive the world and the values and your behaviors, as I would have mentioned, we spoke about how to communicate and how to deal with persons on a global capacity, right? So understanding your personal motivations and your perspectives could help as well. Next slide. Character and ethical behavior. So your integrity in relationships is central to effective leadership and community building. I would have spoke just recently or just a moment ago about integrity, right? So we were talking about integrity in relationships and essential and how essential it is to be an effective leader and how to build your community. And when we're talking about building a community, we're not talking about the persons only who are around your neighborhood or you as a police officer. You're talking about being a community community police or what like that. Building a community is building the persons around you, building in your home, your friends, your family, right? And building and having that integrity in your relationship where you can be trusted. Right, we're talking about authenticity, rooted in actions. It is true, real, fostering trust and credibility. Don't make a promise and then want to sway and not being credible, right? So General Norman Schwarzkopf, right? He emphasized on certain characters. And he talked about this integrity. You hear me talking a lot about it. And then we talk about ethics and morality as essential leadership qualities, right? And we have Johnson. Johnson Institute of Ethics, right? He identified 6 pillars of character. And those 6 pillars of character is trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship, right? So I want to go into those 6 pillars of character. Next slide. To give you a breakdown as to how to understand what the Institute was making mention of. Right, so the 6 pillars that we mentioned before is trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. So trustworthiness is being honest. Don't deceive, don't cheat, don't steal, be reliable, do what you say, right? What you will do and have a courage to do it and do the right thing. You build good reputation and you be loyal, stand by your family and friends. And also he included, the university also included to that you should stand by your country, right? We have respect. Treat others with respect. Follow the golden rule. Be tolerant of differences. Use good manners, not bad language. Be considerate and be considerate of the feelings of others. And that is something that we have to take into consideration, right? Sometimes we might be down and out and feeling sad, and you know how you're feeling, but at the end of the day, you don't know how somebody else is feeling. So it's always be important to use kind words and be tolerant of persons' behavioral patterns, because you don't know what they're going through, right? So don't threaten or hit or hurt persons, and deal peacefully with anger and insults and disagreement. And that is where humility comes in. You'd have heard Lyndon speak prior about humility, especially as a leader, we as supervisors, right? And I should go back to where they talk about don't threaten and hit and hurt. And that is the next thing as police officers, because we, the community judge us and judge everything that we're doing, because we are there as to be judged in the limelight. And the things that we do, and persons would say, one bad apple spoil the whole bunch. So when you talk about you going out there and you're threatening and beating, and all because you talk about being respected and you want respect. We talk about being humble, and we talk about not doing things to hurt persons. You don't know what persons are going through. With responsibility. Responsibility, do what you are supposed to do, right? Keep trying. Always do the best. Use self-control, self-discipline. Think before you act and consider the consequences, and be accountable for your choices. And I'm going to talk about accountability, because Lyndon would have spoke about taking responsibility for the things that you do. Saying, I am sorry, especially when you know you're wrong. Don't fight down and continue on going on beating on a dead horse when you know that it's dead. It has no life in it and you know you're wrong. Just say, I'm sorry, right? Take responsibility for your actions. Be fair. Play by the rules. Take turns and share. Be open-minded and listen to others. And be listening to others is how we learn. So you don't have to always feel like you know as a leader that what your decision is because you have the power. That is the decision and that stands. You have to you have to be humble, and you listen to persons, be open-minded, and you would learn as well, and don't blame others carelessly. So we're talking about caring, that the 6 pillars. Come on, the University Johansson, they talk about all these areas, right? That is so important. Caring, be kind, be passionate, and show care. Express gratitude, forgive others, and help people in need. Right? Sometimes we doing my own thing. Is to me, I live in paycheck to paycheck, and every dollar I count and I can't help. Sometimes it takes nothing out of you to buy a bottle of water and give somebody who look as though they need it on the street, especially in times when the place is really, really hot. You know, you do things and it counts to blessings, right? And citizenship. Citizenship I was a bit taken back by it when I was reading the book. And then I really understand the way they were coming from as it relates to do your share to make your community better, right? Cooperate, get involved in community affairs, stay informed, right? Like for example, sometime we had a class, I think it was OB, and I had a fire in the backyard, and the community leader called, and I was in the middle of making a presentation, and I was like, Miss, I have to take this call. And it's because we live in a community where when something is happening, each one help one, right? So you have to be, you have to be involved in affairs in the community. If my house on fire, my neighbor is to throw water, I throw water in theirs. So being involved is and being a good citizen is important, right? So being a good neighbor, right? Obey laws and rules and respect for authority. So protect the environment as well. So I see Lyndon asking a question. Lyndon, you're meant to make a present. You have something to say?
Yes, Bruni, thanks. I think that citizenship there is such a big point. Why? Many times leaders are just, I am a leader in this organization. People follow me, but they don't buy in or make contributions to the organization. As the point says, signifies a commitment to contributing to the community's well-being. We have to escape that paradigm where people are just merely, I'm a leader, but I'm not contributing to the organization or the community, the well-being of everyone else. And I think it's such an important step along this journey of developing ourselves as leaders. And I think it will help with our followership very much when they see that type of buy-in from a person who could probably say, you know what, I don't have to stay back for this, but you should have contribution by being part of what's going on.
Yes. Well said. Anybody else in class want to make a contribution as it relates to any of the 6 pillars? We have trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness. And when you're talking about fairness, you're also talking about confronting your biases. A lot of us have inherent biases as well. So yes, Duncan.
Afternoon all. To me, respect is like, respect take paramount. You understand? As far as the 6 pillars of the character goes. And there are things like dignity and value and diversity and that kind of thing coming into respect. I think that stands out beyond everything else. I feel you have to respect everything first before you even be trustworthy, before you even accept responsibility, fairness, and citizenship. I think respect is of utmost importance. So I just might.
Yes. Yes, I hear you. Anybody else have any other contribution as it relates to which one of the pillars that you consider to be very important to you? As Joel would have said, that he believes that respect is paramount it's paramount of one of the pillars. He believes that is more important. Or firstly, anybody else? What about confronting biases as and fairness as a leader? Okay, well, we should move on. I've been prompted to anyway. So we're moving on to Carl Jung, right? So Carl Jung has 4 core functions of human adoption, right? And that he called personality archetypes or temperament types, right? And those 4 functions include how we relate to the world, how we perceive the world, how we make judgments, and how we make decisions. And those four core functions can be broken down into subcategories. And those subcategories are extroversion, introversion, sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling, judging and perceiving, right? And next slide. And pay attention, class, to these Myers-Briggs type indicator, right? So we have E, extroverted, expressives, S, sensing, observant, T, thinking, tough-minded, judging, scheduling, and the I, introverted, N, intuitive, and F, feelings, friendly or perceiving, P, perceiving. Next slide. Right, so we have from another class, personality test that we need to take. Right, the personality test is by Myers-Briggs, and it's a personality indicator assessment called MBIT, right? And I am not certain how much persons in the class would have already taken that test, but I took that test. So I wanted to check on what kind of personality that I have. When I took the test, they told me that I am let's see if I could find it. Introverted, intuitive. I'm a thinker and judgmental, right? So person, they say is a kind of rare type or complicated type of one of the personalities, and one of I believe is probably true because even though they said that when you're taking the test, you must be mindful that the human traits exist on a spectrum, and you can fall into a center of the extremes and get results at a different result at a different time every time you take the test. Right? They also said to look at not to look at preferences. I might say I'm introverted, but really and truly, after I take the test, it states that I'm an introvert. So not because I prefer to be introvert. Extroverted means that I am, right? And they also say not to take the test personally, but I took it personally because I saw some things that when I took the test that could relate to me, right? It said that I can be mistaken for arrogant. And I believe that persons who know me that I'm not, but because of how I speak, my tone, possibly sometimes even my personality could come off as arrogant, right? And they also talk about one of the positive things is that I'm a good communicator, have good communication skills, and I appreciate that. So I applaud persons to go take the test. I encourage persons to take the test. The test is there for persons to take. As a matter of fact, anybody in the class took the test as yet? No?
Yes, I did. And I got the same thing you got, Bruni.
Okay. Anybody else? Joel?
Yeah, I did. I can't find my results. I haven't seen somewhere, but yeah, I did it already.
All right, well done. Okay, so next slide, please.
Bruni, I just wanted to ask a question. So in terms
Yes.
of this test, with this test, do employees use it in terms of the type of personality they may be able to say, well, you know, you'd be good in this job or whatever, or is it something that psychologists use?
No, but sorry.
Or is it that you can use it to identify yourself? So if
Well,
I take it, I can identify, because I didn't
all of
take
the
it as
above.
yet, but yes, I can identify myself and probably then see if it is I have the right job for my personality or something like that.
Yes, and
Okay.
all, as I should say, all of the above, because there are persons in company organizations that will use the test. They take advantage of the
Okay.
test to see the personality type of the applicants, and they will probably go by that before they take to see where they will place the persons as relates to the personality and what section they will put them to. Yes, that is so true.
Okay, great.
Yes. Next. Understanding learning approaches. So to understand how we learn, we need to understand how our mind work. So we have behavioral, cognitive, and social construct, right? So leadership and adaptation. We would have spoken about that. I think someone would have mentioned earlier, or even in another class, how you adapt to the person, the change around you, either whether it's the environment or the persons that you work with, right? So effective adaptation is continuous, and it is a learning process, right? And we talk about extroversion and introversion and how we enjoy it. Well, please take the test. I don't want to go too much into that, right? When we're talking about it will explain to you with the difference how the extroversion versus introversion, and how we enjoy group learning and your values and experiences, interest and introspection, reflection, and how we even whether if you prefer or not prefer written assignments, or you want to do it well, the word, right? So sensing and embracing detailed history, inductive thinking. And then we're talking about prioritizing the big picture, the possibilities of deductive thinking, matching learning styles, mismatch learning styles in groups, and that leads to conflict. And we could talk about that forever, because sometimes the teacher might say, choose a group. or he might say, or he might put the group together, and you look at how persons operated the group, the styles, and they don't know how to adapt because persons, some not pulling the weight, some pulling the weight, and if you have that mismatched group, it could lead, because of the different styles of learning or the different styles of expression or the different styles of understanding, it could lead to conflict, right? So we talk about diverse groups benefit from accommodating different styles and learning, and I need to stop there because I don't want us to go over. So we should move on to Lyndon. Come on and do our summary, please.
Thank you, Bruni. That last slide is so important because I think that as we develop ourselves, as we go along this journey, we must understand the approach to learning. You see, this chapter, understanding ourselves, is mastering ourselves. As we learn about ourselves, we learn how to help ourselves learn. We learn how to help ourselves develop. We learn what doesn't help us. We learn what we should not do, what we should spend more time doing, what you should invest in. And I think that we need to understand learning approaches, and especially as leaders, even working with other persons. Remember, we lead persons, as we established at the start. The interpersonal relationships that are established through leadership are very important. We don't lead houses, as I said. We don't lead cars. We drive cars. We own houses, but we lead people, and they are based on interpersonal relationships, as has been established at the start of the text. So, in summary, and I want to say thanks to my co-presenters, Rona Thomas and Bruni Waldron. This chapter discussed some important aspects of your self-awareness that become key to understanding yourself as a participant and as a leader. You know, I know it's a lot of material that was covered in the chapter, but it's the information, the aspects of our self-awareness are key to understanding yourself as a participant and as a leader. And mind you, you can't be a leader unless you learn to follow. Many times I've told firefighters under me that when I attack authority, I am attacking any authority that is given to me myself. So as a participant and as a leader, the chapter explored ways to examine your strengths and weaknesses, as Rona went into, with a goal of developing your talent and having a realistic self-concept with healthy self-esteem and self-confidence. And if I just ask anybody here, what y'all remember about that, you know, but I won't do that now for time's sake. But I want you to jog your mind and remember that we can have flaws in our concept, and we need to really reframe and all those kind of stuff. Reframe to see things in a better light of who we really are. So the chapter explored ways to examine our strengths and weaknesses with the goal of developing your talent. So guys, we were hearing some of the goals that we hit today: developing your talent and having a realistic self-concept with healthy self-esteem. Realistic, not fantasy, with a healthy, not diseased self-esteem and self-confidence. Remember, self-confidence is really having an understanding of our competencies. We then reviewed basic values that are essential in a person of character, building on the psychological and educational approaches to leadership. We presented some models to assess your personality. The model with Carl Jung coming into Myers-Briggs system. So we presented some models to assess your personality preferences and your learning preferences. Next slide. So guys, anybody could say one thing that you remember today? But I don't have time for it, but say it to yourself. One thing that you remember from this discussion. So let me give you some key takeaways. Go ahead, Joel.
Empty and full of bucket.
Positive psychology.
Joel, did that empty and full your bucket like something from your childhood has come back up there to worry us, boy? I see Raph. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Raph.
Lyndon, I had a question though.
Raph, go ahead.
With the whole leadership, when you come to self-development and you go into that inner space where you think about things, don't you think that sometimes things might frighten people, or they realize that mental awareness is also one of the weaknesses that they have to end up battling with?
Yeah, things may frighten you, but you have to face up. One of the things that we learn is that you have to now face up to your weaknesses. And when you come to face up to the weakness and you face up, just as you face up your strength, or somebody's all right, I'm here, not kind of echo there. Yeah. Just as we come face to face with our strength, when we come face to face with our weakness, we can't be afraid. But remember that our weaknesses are not all that we have. We also have strengths. And as the book said, the true understanding of self is understanding a collaboration of strengths and weaknesses. So even though we could be afraid, but that's unhealthy. When we understand how weaknesses and strengths work together, remember I also said, and we also established that in one scenario, your weakness, Joel, can be a strength for a particular group because that group may be overzealous about their strengths. So it's nothing to be afraid of, but we understand how they work together, what's the collaboration between strengths and weaknesses, and how we invest in our strengths, because that's our X factors. That's what gets us ahead. Our weaknesses, we can partner with other persons who can help those weaknesses. I'm seeing the next hand raised. I think that's Raf.
Yes, good day, everyone. Speaking about weaknesses, right? Businesses tend to take and do a SWOT analysis, which is a serious thing for as far as organizations go, right? And the acronym SWOT means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But we as human beings, as individuals, we normally tend to see a weakness as a bad thing. When in truth and in fact, if you really and truly do some introspection, it could turn out to actually be an opportunity. So I was happy that this particular topic came up and was expounded upon, and it's something that as I say, as individuals, we need to sometimes just have a different mindset about certain things, right? You have a weakness, and typically we tend to believe that weakness is, oh gosh, we tend to normally have negative thoughts about our own weaknesses, when in truth and in fact, like I mentioned before, it could be an opportunity just lying there, just for you to go and seize it. So that's my contribution concerning the presentation, which was good, by the way. I must say, I commend you all.
Yes, and thank you. And something I want to leave quickly. Oh, I see Taran have something, but I just wanted to say this to the class, that we should strive to build on our own positive strength, as
Yes.
Raf would have said, right? And learn how to take advantage of our ability to achieve individual fulfillment, right?
Yes.
So Taran, quickly, and then we...
Taran, we have 3 more minutes, so make a contribution in that time, please.
All right, no problem. Well, very nice contribution.
Within
very
1 minute,
nice.
within 1 minute, please.
No problem. Very nice presentation. I just want to say that we must factor in trauma when looking at ourselves or looking at past experiences, how trauma would have impacted upon our how we view things. So that's just my simple contribution, but it's a great presentation, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and with trauma, we can actually look at nature in terms of what have been something that would have happened in the past. So yes, we can look at it as like that.
Yes.
How things around us shape us. Yeah. So.
Exactly as I thought. Nice, good answer, Rona. Now, guys, we have to wrap up because we don't want to go over our time, but we thank you for all the contributions. We thank you for the interaction. And of course, we want to challenge you to go on this journey as the PowerPoint started. We want to challenge you to go on this journey. It may be painful in some areas, but let us take the opportunity to develop ourselves. And I want to ask Mr. Bisu for a grade that will not empty my bucket, nor the bucket of my co-presenters. Don't use the wrong dip on us, Mr. Bisu. Thank you very much. Class, have a good day.
Have a good day, class, and thank you for your attention.
I'm going to pause the recording now.